So I see the live button. It says 0, 9, 10, 11. I think we are live on Instagram, live on YouTube, hopefully, and live on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. I am seeing looks and sounds great. I'm being told it looks and sounds great. Went a little different today. Dave, what do you think, buddy? We went black on green. Went a little. I saw. I'm gonna be real honest. You know me, man. I'm usually like a white shirt kind of guy, timeless over trendy. But you know who had a little bit of influence lately is I've been seeing interviews with George Clooney, and that dude can rock the black shirt with a jacket, and I don't do that very often. So today we're gonna go a little different. Green jacket, no tie. And it's really funny about the tie thing, right? So I have realized I spoke at the Aspire Tour. I emceed the Aspire Tour in Orlando, and I got to MC this event with Hulk Hogan and John Gordon and Shaquille O'Neal. And I'm walking through the lobby of a different event, and there's probably, I don't know, 400-500 dudes there. And this is what I've noticed about men in fashion now. Not that I feel like we as dudes are just casual in our approach to fashion, dressing up. Now, it definitely isn't the era that I'm in love with, which is the Mad Men. I got Sinatra back here. I mean, check this out. Like, check those boys out. Like, those guys are that Rat Pack group. That's a sharp group. Somehow in 2024 has been the elimination of the tie, and I like me a good tie. In fact, I almost rocked a black tie with this also, but I thought it might be maybe a little overkill. So we're going a little Clooney today. We're coming at you live. From what I hear, it's working on all platforms. I can see a comment from LinkedIn. I can see a comment from YouTube. I have no clue if I can see comments from Instagram here as well. So if I don't get to, if you have comments or questions and you're watching on Instagram, do me a favor, shoot me a DM, because I will be back in there right after this, digging in. Today, we pop in here once a week. We talk about public speaking, communication, and more than anything, connecting with your audience. Because my goal for everybody that I work with is helping business owners, helping entrepreneurs get more clients, build their business by improving their public speaking skills, by learning how to communicate and connect emotionally with their audience. And that all comes down to telling a well-crafted story. Telling a well-crafted story that ties to your product or service is the number one way for you to continue to build your business and your brand in 2024. And I've been doing this for 17 years, and it's just like every year I continue to see this skill, the people that set themselves apart as the marketplace gets more and more and more noisy. It's those people that can tell a compelling story, that knows exactly who their audience is, knows exactly what their pain points are, knows how to say what that pain point is, the way their customer, the way their audience would describe it. And how do you wrap a story around that as well? One of the most common questions I get when I'm working with a client one-on-one, or the clients that come to our workshops, is, Jimmy, I have a story, but I don't know that I want to share it. It's a little vulnerable. It's a little embarrassing. Sometimes there's family members involved. Sometimes there's individuals involved, and they don't want to call anybody out. And I always say, you never have to use names. You don't have to use like first and last names. You don't have to give, there doesn't have to be a link to somebody's Facebook or Instagram or YouTube channel saying, this is the person I'm talking about. So you can be a little vague. But I do think it's important to be a little vulnerable, sometimes very vulnerable. When I tell my well-crafted story on the stage, I talk about before I got involved in business, I was a former 100-pound overweight, 3-time college dropout. I have been using that sentence for 17 years now. Gosh, probably actually longer now that I say 17 years and I start doing the math. It's never a sentence that I'm proud of. And one of the most vulnerable parts of my story is I talk about after, I had graduated high school, I struggled to try to get into a college here in Dallas. I had gone to the University of Oklahoma, left, ran off to Disney World, tried to go to school again. And it's the moment when I had tried to go to school again. I'd been there for one semester at Rollins College in Florida. And my mom calls me on the phone and she's like, hey, Jimmy, we're worried about you. We're worried about you because we see all the collection agencies, all the people that are, I'd maxed out multiple credit cards, obviously had student loans I wasn't paying back at the time. And, they're like, we're worried about you. We really think you should come home. And it was in that moment, I wanted like one of those movie moments where you're like, no, Mom, I'm going to chase my dream. And I overcome and come out of the other side. And that's not what happened. It was in that moment that my stomach just kind of dropped and I just surrendered. It was one of those things where it was just like, I knew she was right. I knew that I'd kind of run into a wall. And this is going to, every time I talk about this, it's going to sound so dramatic, like it came out of like an after school special, but I absolutely am telling the truth that in that moment at that semester, I had moved to a tiny little apartment to be closer to campus. I was a theater major. I was on scholarship, but I didn't have enough spending money. So for those that you don't know, as you're a theater major, it's almost like having an extra job, right? Because if you don't get cast in a show, you are expected to be on tech or do something else or be involved. So you have all your daytime stuff, and then you have to be a part of rehearsal and the extra parts of a show at night. But I was having to figure out how to hold down a job too, because I didn't have like living money. School was taken care of, didn't have living money, books money, stuff like that. And that semester, I had a tiny little apartment within walking distance of school. And when I say literally in my apartment, I had a mattress on the ground, not bedspread, not box spring. I had a mattress on the ground. I had some cinder blocks thing that kind of made like a little TV stand and a little pull out, like little place to sit. And I was surviving off, I was making a box of minute rice last as long as it could. And the other little part-time job, just I could barely work just time-wise, is I was working at a smoothie and wrap place so I could eat free or cheap there. And so when I say I really did give up, or not give up, it was time to surrender, to go home. And I talk about moving back in with my parents in my early 20s. When I say these things from stage, I have never got, even though this seems like a different lifetime ago, I've never got so removed from that story that it's still not embarrassing to talk about. You know, so many people find me on social media and they see the guy in the suit. They see the guy who is in shape, that takes care of himself, that is well-spoken. And they just think, oh, Jimmy, I can't relate with you, right? Because the version I see of you is this well-crafted version of you. So it's my responsibility to remind my audience where I came from. And it's your responsibility to remind your audience where you came from. You know, the three things you really need to do when you're telling your well-crafted story, you have about a minute, maybe two, to do a few things. And the first thing you got to do is tell your audience why you are just like them. You have to understand their pain points. You can understand their fears and what they're worried about and say, I understand. It's a concept called pacing. It's coming alongside your buddy. I think we've all been there sometimes, right? Have you ever been there where you've talked to a friend about a problem or an issue and you're not actually looking for an answer? You just want somebody to sit in your situation and sit next to you and go, you know what? It sucks. I get you. It's not that you don't ever want a solution. It's not that you don't want to fix it initially, but there's certain times that we really do share our problems, not to get a solution, but we just want somebody else to go, I know how you feel, buddy. I got you. And that's what the first part of your story, that's the vulnerable piece of your story that you've got to do. You have to tell your audience, I understand where you are, whether it's your journey is the customer journey, right? So my first business was in health and fitness. So my journey was the customer's journey, right? I understood what it felt like to be overweight and to try things before and to be embarrassed in my skin and to be uncomfortable. So I could speak to that. But sometimes maybe your industry, your journey isn't the customer's journey, right? But what's a story that you could tell that's the same emotional piece? I work with real estate agents often, and my parents have been in real estate for 40 plus years. And the example I always say is watching my parents, what it became very clear to me was not if, but when something was going to go a little sideways in the entire either buying or selling of a home. And often that sideways thing had nothing to do with whether the agent or the client did something wrong, but there was some kind of external force, right? Somebody outside of my parents and their client did something wrong, got some paperwork in late, the other agent was neglected, there was bad communication, right? So often when I work with a real estate agent, we'll find a non-real estate story to tell. We will talk about a time maybe growing up in elementary school, high school, a college, young adult time where they did everything right? They checked the boxes. They did what they were supposed to. Yet things didn't go quite right because of some external force. And they found a way to overcome that. And why do we tell that story? Because as they start sharing their well-crafted story and they open with this emotional story about this time that they did the right things and they were still disappointed. They did the right things and they were frustrated. They did the right things and they still got screwed over because of somebody else's negligence and how they fought through. and they're going to move to that content piece and they're going to teach. But when they get to the end, that close, when they're asking that person to sign that listing agreement, to say, yes, I want to work with you, what we tie it back to that story is, hey, all I know is I can't promise you that there are not going to be hiccups in us selling your home, or there won't be hiccups in helping us buy that dream home. But what I can guarantee you is we're going to do things the right way. We're going to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and we're going to do the things the right way. But I can tell you this, there's probably going to be some external things. There's going to be some hiccups. But just like that story I told you at the beginning of the presentation, you want me in your foxhole because we're going to overcome and we're going to get you that house. We're going to sell the one that you're getting out of. And so it's those types of ways that we can take an emotional story that doesn't even seem like it has anything to do with what it is that your industry is, but it ties back to it because there's an emotional connection. It's this universalizing thing. At the same time, the same way where I share my story about after I lost my weight and I went to New York City and I'm trying to pursue my acting career. And this should be where the happy ending is, right? I did the right things. I checked the boxes. Finally, after getting it wrong so often in my life, I finally started checking the right boxes. I lost the weight. I got my stuff together. I got out of debt. I was still struggling as an actor. And I found myself after 2.5, 3 years in New York City in Times Square. But instead of going there to, go to an audition or go rehearsal for a Broadway show or be in a movie or all the things I thought was supposed to happen, I'm sitting in the middle of Times Square with like a stupid outfit on, passing out chocolates, trying to make a little extra money while I'm looking at these billboards. And the billboards, I'm like, that's where the story was supposed to end. Now, I can share that story from stage. That's my part of my well-crafted story. And I know literally no one in my audience has had that experience. But you know what they have had? They have had times in their life that they felt behind. They've had times in their life they're like, look, I know I've made a lot of mistakes, but this is the one time I got it right, and I'm still disappointed. And I know that sometimes that they have gotten to enough is enough moment that they're ready to take action. And that's where I get to my call to action, right? This idea of where for me, the aha moment was, Jimmy, stop waiting for people to put you on their stages and start making your own. And for that 17 years, that's what I've been doing. Not only retelling and recrafting my story to impact people, but helping business owners and professionals just like you do the same. And we're often way too close to our story. We think either we can't share it because it's vulnerable and we need to come across professional. We need to come across polished. People want to do business with the people that seem like they have all their stuff together. A bit. But I also know for a fact that if I know that you've had some kind of trial, you've had sometimes you've messed up and you've come out the other end, man, there's something that immediately creates the know, like, and trust factor. And people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So I don't know what that is for you, right? If there's a vulnerable story in there that you're not sure how to tell, or you've just been reluctant to tell, I would challenge you this week in some way, shape, or form, whether it's going live like this, whether it's in your next, Instagram reel, you're doing a short on YouTube, you're sharing a story on LinkedIn, share a vulnerable time. Share a time you didn't get it right. Share a time that it went wrong. Maybe it's the first time you worked with a client and how bad it went. But you know what that? If you show how bad it's gone, here's the beautiful part. You can show how you got better, right? You can show how much you've grown. You can say, look, this is where I started. But this is where I started and this is where I am now. I can help you get to where you want to go as well. I love teaching our workshops that we do every month here in Dallas. I love working with my one-on-one clients. And I love coming on live here to teach these kind of strategies to you. And I know I get on here and I get really excited and I spit a lot of information at you. So what I've done, so you're like, oh, Jimmy has some really great stuff. Maybe you're not somewhere where you can take notes. I have a solution for you. Even if you can see my screen here, if you'll just go to storywellcrafted.com, I've put together a PDF for you. What it is it's a PDF checklist that goes straight to your phone. What it does is it allows you to kind of review some of these things that I'm talking about, right? Okay, what was it? What do I need to do in the opening of my story? Oh, I need to tell people why I'm just like them and then how I overcame that. Oh, how do I tie that to thing? All the things that I've just done here in the past, 15 minutes that we've been together here, I understand. I've been doing this 17 years and it's second nature to me. For you, this might be brand new. But if you go to storywellcrafted.com, you get that PDF. Like I said, what it is the PDF to your phone. What it does is it allows you to look over that before you're on your next stage. That stage may be one-on-one in front of a prospect, It may be like a dinner presentation. It may be a prospecting call. You may be going in. Maybe it's you have to just get up in front of your team at your corporate office and you're terrified about how do I connect these things as well. Maybe it's a social media post or a webinar, or maybe you have an opportunity to be on stage in front of people. You can use that checklist. And what that means is that you get to go into that next interaction with that potential perfect client completely confident that you know what story you're going to tell, how you're going to tell it, how you're going to connect with them, and then how to get them to take the next step with you to do business as well. So please, as my gift to you, go to storywellcrafted.com, get that PDF, and then reach out to me however you would like to. You'll get an email there, respond to that email. We answer those here. Me and my team are always here to help you figure out what that story is, to figure out what's that next step. How do you use your unique story that no one else has? That's the cool part. Once you start embracing your well-crafted story, you stand out from the competition because no one has your story. So go to storywellcrafted.com, get that PDF, start telling your story, and we will talk to you very soon. Take care.